Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Emmel, and today I'll be talking about the challenges in climate change. Climate change has become a major issue since the late 18th century due to the anthropomorphic changes in our atmosphere since the Industrialized Revolution. Massive increases in carbon dioxide, methane, and other greenhouse gas emissions due to the burning of fossil fuels has caused the temperature on our planet to rise. Fossil fuels trap heat in our atmosphere, and Earth has currently warmed by 1 degree Celsius and is expected to warm by up to 6.4 degrees Celsius by the late 21st century. This amount may not seem like a lot, but even a 1 degree Celsius increase will cause mountains to start to lose their ice caps and river runoffs, decrease freshwater by 1/3 across the world, further warm our oceans, cause mass extinctions of 1/3 of our current species, and will put coastal communities underwater with sea level rise. A sea level rise of 1 meter will displace 10% of the world's populations. We must dramatically reduce our greenhouse gas emissions to further avoid climate catastrophe. We are already experiencing extreme weather conditions across the globe due to the effects of climate change. Arctic sea ice has already decreased by 40% in the last 30 years because heating in the Arctic happens faster than the rest of the world. This leads to climate change issues because while ice reflects heat from the sun, our oceans absorb it. As the ocean surface increases and the ice surface decreases, less heat is reflected back to space, and more is absorbed by our oceans. This leads to warmer waters and higher sea levels around the world, which have led to more severe and frequent weather events. Weather disasters like hurricanes are becoming more intense because they draw their energy from warm ocean water. 2022 is the 7th year in a row that we have had above average increase in hurricanes. Just this year, Hurricane Fiona led to major unprecedented levels of rain and caused catastrophic damage, leaving Puerto Rico residents without electricity and safe drinking water for weeks. Another major hurricane, Hurricane Ian, changed course quickly and intensified quicker than Florida residents could prepare for. Scientists predict that the quick intensity and damages from hurricanes will only increase as ocean temperatures continue to rise. We are also already experiencing drier and more intense heat waves across the globe. States like Texas have recorded an increase in over a month's worth of 100-degree days over the last 50 years. California has seen an overall increase of 3 degrees over the past century. As global temperatures rise, the areas impacted by extreme heat also rise. More intense heat evaporates the moisture from our soil, leading to drought in agriculture and our forests. In the West, where wildfires are known to happen, drier conditions cause fires to burn more intensely, longer, and in size. 2020 was the biggest wildfire season in California history, burning 4 million acres. 5 of the biggest wildfires in California history have happened in the last 3 years. Farming and crop production is already beginning to decrease around the world due to climate change and extreme drought, since soil is just not staying moist enough to keep the crops alive, and it's producing smaller yields every year. The ethical challenges related to climate change impacts and the issues of extreme weather events and drier, warmer weather is unprecedented. Greenhouse gas emissions continue to rise due to the economic benefits we as humans continue to reap from our world. The issues with only focusing on the economic benefits we can gain from continuously taking and destroying our world is that we lose sight of the intrinsic benefit it gives us that is essential for not only the Earth's well-being, but our own. By doing this, we are decreasing the quality of life of everyday people, businesses, agricultural farmers, etc. The impact of extreme heat increases demand for air conditioning, fueling carbon pollution, and putting a strain on our energy systems that can lead to blackouts and affect our freshwater supply. It also poses a serious health threat, especially for the most vulnerable, by increasing health conditions like asthma, heart attacks, heat strokes, and even cancer. Agricultural farmers will lose money and could be in threat of going out of business as it becomes more expensive to produce smaller crop yields, which will only add to the inflation of dairy, meat, and produce that we are already seeing. As extreme weather events become more frequent and severe, it will only continue to displace millions of people from their homes and destroy businesses. If we do not care about the environment and our species, we should at least care about what is happening to us. The Kyoto Protocol was adopted in 1997 and entered in force in 2005 and consisted of 192 parties. It worked to commit industrialized countries and economies to transition to cleaner energy and reduce greenhouse gas emissions by meeting specific targets, directly affecting climate change. It only asked developed countries to adopt new policies to mitigate and report their emissions, since they are the ones mainly responsible for its impacts. The Paris Agreement is a newer policy that was adopted in 2015 and directly focuses on limiting global warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius pre-industrial levels. Countries in the agreement aim to reduce emissions as soon as possible by reporting nationally determined contributions, or NDCs, every 5 years, which report actions they will take to reduce emissions for the long term. With only 84 nations out of the original 192 still signing into the Kyoto Protocol, it has not been much of a success. It ended up not becoming international law until closer to 2012, when reduction targets were supposed to be met. By then, large countries that did not adopt the Kyoto Protocol, like the United States and China, already exceeded the world's greenhouse gas emissions by 40%, making any reductions made by other countries erased. With the Paris Agreement being a newer policy, we are not sure of all the reductions it has caused yet. Even so, it has already sparked low-carbon solutions and new markets. More and more countries are entering into carbon neutrality, representing 25% of the total emissions so far. Adopting an ethical approach by focusing on the 3 E's of economy, environment, and equity, we can better deal with the challenges of climate change. Climate change already limits the triple bottom line in all aspects because, as described before, it leads to inflation and puts people out of business, affecting the economy, is leading to mass extinction and destroys ecosystems, affecting the environment, and is leading to homelessness, decreased resources, and is leading to health conditions in certain areas, affecting equity. We now only focus on the 1 E, economy, which has led us to where we are today, and will only be exacerbated if we continue the way we are into the future. By adopting policies that improve the environment and equity we have affected, we will be adopting policies that deal with climate change impacts. This is extremely important to do because it will improve the health of us and the world. If we are to only focus on the economy, we will soon lose that too, as we continue to expend our resources and eventually lead to irreversible damages that will cause issues with inflation, food supply, and land use. Creating a new policy that takes the Kyoto Protocol and Paris Agreement and augments them to include the 3 E's of sustainability is important to get more countries on board. The current policies only focus on the environmental impacts of climate change and not the economic and equity ones. By just telling leaders to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and decrease warming by a certain amount, you do not take into account the economic and societal blows that the country could also be affected by due to climate change. An example of this would be a natural disaster that is impacting the country or inflation that is happening from the pandemic. A new policy will still ask that countries reduce their emissions, but keep in mind that issues like this can happen. Countries that are in the international policy could provide economic and equity assistance to other countries involved in the agreement when unforeseen circumstances happen, making sure that basic needs are being met. Another suggestion would be to provide countries with the resources they need to reduce their emissions, like providing monetary or physical assistance to slowly switch to greener energy. By giving countries an incentive to join in the policy, more countries may be more inclined to take a part in it. Thank you everyone for your time, and I would appreciate any questions and considerations you may have for dealing with the challenges of climate change.